The most powerful man in the room, with everything to lose, is harboring a dark secret that could destroy him. But what if the only person who knows the truth is a lowly waiter who quietly observes from the sidelines? Stay tuned. The twist will leave you dumbfounded. Meet Victor Blackwell, a charismatic billionaire who has the world at his feet. He is confident, charismatic, and ruthless, and he has constructed an empire based on power and influence. Tonight, he's hosting an elaborate dinner at one of the most exclusive restaurants in town to celebrate a huge deal that will increase his wealth. Now, meet Ethan, a young waiter with a calm presence. But don't be fooled by his unassuming approach. He's perceptive, clever, and has a keen intellect that observes details that most people overlook. Though he's new to the job, something about him distinguishes him from the others. The restaurant is a universe unto itself, luxurious, exclusive, and full of powerful people who appear to rule the night. The polished marble flooring, dazzling chandeliers, and subtle hum of high-stakes conversations create a luxurious and sophisticated ambiance. But beneath the grandeur, there is an evident tension in the air, similar to the quiet before a storm. It feels like something is about to go horribly wrong. Victor's patience becomes thin when he makes a minor mistake, such as ordering the wrong drink. Instead of letting it go, he uses the opportunity to humiliate Ethan in front of the entire room. His remarks are caustic, oozing with arrogance, and each one is intended to strike deeper. The room falls silent as Victor's words resonates, indicating that he loves his control over the young waiter. The guests observe, some uneasy, others laughing, as the tension grows. Despite being plainly shaken, Ethan maintains his cool. With a calm yet knowing expression, he apologizes simply, but his words are sharp. Everyone has secrets, sir. Some simply hide them better than others. The room becomes even hushed, as if the weight of his words hovers in the air. Victor's eyes narrow, and a flicker of discomfort crosses his face, which he swiftly conceals with a forced smile. The subtle challenge in Ethan's voice is noticed, and for a little time, it appears that the power dynamic has shifted. Victor's confident smile falters for a split second, revealing a glimpse of concern on his face. But, in true fashion, he rapidly regains control, dismissing Ethan's statements as nothing more than a nuisance. His eyes darken, and the air becomes colder as he dismissively waves away his discomfort. To the visitors, it appears to be a small discussion, but Victor knows something bigger is going on, something he is urgently attempting to keep secret. As the evening progresses, Ethan, ever the watchful waiter, retreats to a secluded area of the restaurant to collect his thoughts. But then he hears something that stops him in his tracks. Victor, oblivious of Ethan's presence, is on the phone, his voice quiet but tense. "If you even say a word about this, it'll be the end of you," Victor says, his voice harsh with threat. Ethan listens on, stunned, as Victor discusses a scandal that might bring all he's built crashing down. The weight of the conversation hangs in the air, and Ethan realizes for the first time that the millionaire isn't so untouchable. Shaken but determined, Ethan quickly takes out a little notepad and jots down every important thing he overhears. Names, dates, and the suggestion of a scandal that may devastate Victor's empire. His mind speeds, connecting the dots as a sense of purpose emerges. Ethan realizes this isn't an accidental encounter. It's the key to something far bigger. With calm resolution, he starts to delve deeper into Victor's past, revealing the reality that the billionaire has worked so hard to conceal. As Ethan contemplates the weight of what he has just heard, a flashback transports him back to a period he has tried to forget. He remembers his father, a committed whistleblower who exposed corruption within large corporations. Years ago, his father came across Victor's company while investigating a massive scandal. But soon later, he vanished without a trace. The police labeled it a disappearance, but Ethan feared something much deeper. Now, as the pieces begin to fall into place, Ethan believes that Victor's empire could be the key to discovering what really happened to his father. Ethan's demeanor evolves throughout the night. He is no longer just the silent waiter. He is now quietly challenging Victor with cryptic remarks. A casual comment here, a pointed observation there, each one intended to make Victor uncomfortable. Isn't it funny how some people can cover their genuine selves so well? Ethan adds with a smile, observing Victor's reaction intently. Victor gradually becomes aware that something is wrong. His eyes dart uncomfortably, his confidence fading as the gravity of Ethan's words sinks in. The tension rises, and Victor becomes increasingly paranoid, as if Ethan knows far more than he should. Victor's discomfort grows during the night. Every glance Ethan makes in his direction is heavy with significance, and each comment is more sharp than the last. Slowly, the billionaire suspects Ethan knows something that could destroy him. But he can't act on his suspicions here, or in front of his guests. His mind races as he considers his next action, but the pressure to preserve his public image keeps him in check. The air between them deepens with unsaid tension, as Victor wonders how much Ethan truly knows. The tension approaches a climax when Ethan, with a coolness that contrasts with Victor's increasing uneasiness, drops a bombshell. "You know," he continues nonchalantly, "I happen to have access to specific records. These documents have the potential to significantly impact your life." Victor's face pales, and his heart races as the gravity of Ethan's words sinks in. The room becomes colder, and the once joyous atmosphere is now filled with danger. Ethan's voice is calm, but there's a distinct edge to it. He knows exactly what he's holding over Victor's head, and isn't hesitant to use it. As the conversation progresses, Victor's customary calm begins to deteriorate. His hands tremble slightly as he drinks his drink, and his gaze darts nervously about the room. After the extravagant supper, his guests begin to notice a shift in his conduct. Whispers flow silently between them as they exchange anxious glances. The confident billionaire, who formerly commanded the room with ease, suddenly appears rattled. The air gets thick with pain, and it is evident that something is wrong, and Victor is no longer in charge. As dessert is served, Ethan approaches Victor with a sealed letter and an inscrutable expression. He lays it in front of him, his gaze drawn to Victor's for a minute longer than required. "You'll want to read this privately," Ethan says quietly but firmly. The envelope is unassuming, yet its contents carry tremendous weight. Victor hesitates, the tension in the room rising as he considers what could be there. His visitors are curious, but none of them dare to speak up. Victor takes the envelope, his hands visibly quivering, and retires to a quieter place, leaving the gathering in suspense. Victor moves away from the table, his mind racing, and into a private room away from inquisitive eyes. With quivering hands, he tears open the envelope, the silence surrounding him nearly deafening. As he extracts the contents, his gaze over the documents, each one more incriminating than the last. There, in black and white, are copies of incriminating proof, linking him to illicit crimes he thought were long forgotten. And then, his heart stops. Among the papers is a dossier outlining Ethan's father's strange disappearance. A whistleblower who had come into contact with Victor's empire. The truth hits Victor hard, and for the first time, he learns he's not as untouchable as he imagined. Victor comes into the kitchen, his face flushed with rage. The door crashes behind him, leaving the room in uncomfortable quiet. His gaze is drawn to Ethan, who stands there quietly, as if he had expected this. "How did you obtain these?" Victor demands, his voice low and angry. His hands are locked into fists, but his eyes contain a trace of terror. Ethan does not flinch. Instead, he catches Victor's gaze and speaks steadily. "I've been following you for a long time." The challenge in his remarks is obvious, and Victor's anxiety grows. He realizes it's no longer just about the documents. It's about everything he's fought so hard to conceal. Ethan stands firm, his eyes steadfast, as he confronts the billionaire. "I've been examining you for years, Victor," he adds calmly, but purposefully. "I've been putting every piece of the puzzle, every whisper, together." Victor's countenance darkens as his mind races to determine how much Ethan truly knows. "You believe you can simply expose me?" he sneers. Ethan does not flinch. "I did not do it alone. I've had aid. A friend in law enforcement has been feeding me information." The information hits Victor like a blow in the stomach. The net is closing in, and for the first time, he understands how far Ethan is willing to go. Victor, trying to reclaim control, moves closer to Ethan, his voice full of false charm. "Name your price," he replies, his tone full of arrogance and desperation. "You can have anything you want: money, power, and a luxurious lifestyle. It's all yours." But Ethan remains steady, his eyes steadfast. "This is not about money," he says gently. "It is about justice." The words linger in the air, piercing and uncompromising. Victor's offer falls flat, as the truth of the situation strikes him harder than any bribe could. Ethan isn't seeking for a payday. He wants something far bigger: the truth. The tension in the room approaches a boiling point when Victor's veneer finally collapses. His calm, planned exterior shatters, revealing his actual, aggressive nature. "You think you can bring me down?" Victor spits, his voice increasing in anger. "I can make you disappear without a trace, just like your father." His hands clench into fists, and his eyes flame with wrath. Ethan does not flinch, but the coldness in his voice contrasts sharply with Victor's anger. "You are running out of alternatives, Victor. Your empire is falling. The threat looms, but one thing is certain. Victor will go to any length to defend himself, even if it means ruining Ethan in the process." As Victor lunges for Ethan, his rage overtaking him, the kitchen door unexpectedly opens. FBI agents rush into the room, pistols drawn, and their motions quick. "Freeze! Everyone on the ground!" one of them orders, and the tumultuous situation changes abruptly. Victor stops, his face blanched, realizing the trap has been sprung. Ethan stands erect and unshaken as the agents move in to restrain the billionaire. The restaurant, once filled with the hum of luxury and power, is now overpowered by the sound of handcuffs snapping and agents shuffling around to secure the scene. Victor's kingdom is collapsing before his eyes, and he can no longer avoid the consequences of his decisions. As FBI investigators draw in on Victor, the truth finally emerges. One of the agents goes forward and removes his mask, revealing a familiar face to Ethan. It's his law enforcement acquaintance, the one who has always been passing him information. But there's a twist. He's more than simply a cop. He's an undercover FBI agent working on a covert plot to bring Victor down. "You've been a big help, Ethan," the agent says, nodding, his voice full of thanks. "We've been crafting this case for years." Victor's eyes widen with amazement as the gravity of his situation strikes in. What he thought was a game of cat and mouse turned out to be a well-plotted takedown, with Ethan playing a major role throughout. Victor stands motionless, his world collapsing around him as the FBI agents approach. They quickly cuff him, and lead the once untouchable billionaire away in handcuffs. His face is a mix of shock and rage as he is exposed for the sins he believed he had buried forever. The spies move with precision, safeguarding the situation as his empire collapses. For Victor, the tables have turned. He is no longer in command. The truth has finally been revealed, and he cannot escape the repercussions of his actions. As the agents lead Victor away, Ethan stands there, his heart heavy with relief and intense emotion. Years of searching, unanswered questions, and the pain of losing his father all come back to him. He slowly sinks to his knees, the weight of everything finally settling on him. His father's disappearance, which had previously tormented him, has now been solved. The truth he'd battled so hard to uncover had always been right in front of him. Tears fill up in his eyes as he tells himself, it's over. He did not disappear. He was silent. The closure he so badly sought is finally within grasp, but at a high cost. For Ethan, justice has been served, but the scars of the past will never heal completely. As Ethan sits there, overcome with sorrow, a flashback transports him to a period when his father was still by his side. He recalls quiet chats they had late at night, his father's voice steady, yet full of conviction. Ethan, he had added, no matter how powerful the opposition, always stand up for what's right. Even when it seemed impossible, the truth eventually emerges. The words reverberate in Ethan's consciousness as the weight of what he's just accomplished sinks in. His father's knowledge and strength had always been with him, propelling him ahead even when the obstacles appeared insurmountable. With Victor ultimately exposed, Ethan understands he has fulfilled his father's legacy, and justice has prevailed. As the situation calms, the once quiet restaurant begins to stir. Staff and guests, who had previously been bystanders to the chaos, begin to applaud one by one. It begins quietly, but gradually becomes louder, filling the room with respect and admiration. Ethan, who is still kneeling on the floor, glances up in astonishment at the gesture. The visitors, many of whom had witnessed Victor's ruthlessness personally, now understand Ethan's great heroism in confronting such a powerful figure. The acclaim grows, and for the first time that night, Ethan feels validated. He did more than just find the truth. He became a symbol of sticking up for what is right, regardless of the cost. As the ovation fades and the diner returns to normal, Ethan carefully gets to his feet. His heart feels heavy, but there is a sense of calm in his gaze that was not present before. He takes one last glance around the room, at the people who have realized the truth, and then turns toward the door. Stepping outside into the cool night air, Ethan takes deep breaths, feeling the weight of the past finally lift. His father's legacy of integrity, the lessons he instilled in him, will live on through every decision Ethan makes and every act of bravery he undertakes. As he leaves the restaurant, he feels a peaceful satisfaction in his heart. The truth has been disclosed, justice has been delivered, and his father's memory can now rest. As Ethan wanders into the darkness, the weight of everything starts to settle. The world around him feels different and lighter, as if the chains that had held him back for so long have finally been broken. The truth, no matter how deeply buried, always makes its way to the surface. And for Ethan, the truth not only freed him free, but it also honored his father's legacy in ways he never imagined imaginable. The story ends, but the message remains. No matter how powerful the resistance is, no matter how many secrets are kept concealed, the truth will eventually come out. It constantly increases.